my own space station. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 526 Sandman. Soon, the flying robot arrived in the Aksu region. Wait, is this the Peacock River? Dongfang Chen asked, pointing at the screen. Yes, Commander, Little Lin replied. The location of the epicenter is in the central area of Aksu, 10 kilometers south of the Peacock River, and only 10 kilometers away from the Taklamakan Desert to the south. This is the only way to cross western Wujiang and enter Mato. The epicenter is here, Dongfang Chen asked. Yes, Commander, zoom in. Okay, Dongfang Chen had a faint feeling that something was about to happen here. Daizhang, come and take a look. Is this the location where we rescued Old Kin more than 10 years ago? Dongfang Chen called Daizhang over. Let me see. Daizhang immediately walked over. Almost. It should be a bit further north, closer to Lopner, Daizhang replied after looking at the map for a while. Okay. Little Lin, send more drones to closely monitor this area. Report immediately if you find anything unusual, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Commander. A steady stream of drones flew towards the Aksu region. Holy One, look, there are drones in the sky, a follower shouted. Hide everyone, don't move, Jinki ordered. Holy One, these drones aren't here to find us, are they? The follower asked. They should have been attracted by the tremor. Jinki thought for a moment and analyzed. That's good. The follower breathed a sigh of relief. What the hell is going on? We are already tired 2 mutants, but we are being forced to hide like rats by a bunch of ants. It's really humiliating, the injured follower complained. Stop talking nonsense. If you want to die, go far away, don't implicate us, another follower retorted. Shut up, all of you. Jinki was annoyed to death. He had been tracking the source of the sound, and now he had a bad feeling. He felt that these sounds were directed at them. Commander, there is an anomaly. Not long after, Little Lin reminded. What's wrong? Dongfang Chen asked. Unidentified objects have appeared on the ground, Little Lin reported. Zoom in. Dongfang Chen stared at the screen. Zoom in again. At this time, faint black dots could be vaguely seen moving. Zoom in again. Now, the little black dots could be seen more clearly. What are these things? Dongfang Chen felt a chill down his spine. These things looked like flowing sand. And also like walking little people. The reason why they appeared black from a distance was because what was seen was only their shadows. Preliminary judgment is sand? Little Lin replied. Dongfang Chen was speechless. Little Lin always said some inexplicable nonsense at certain times. He could see that too, but the question was, why did this sand take on the shape of people, and why could it walk on the Gobi Desert? Test it and see why they can move, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Commander, Little Lin replied. Warning. A large number of nanobots have been destroyed. Warning. A large number of nanobots have been destroyed. What's going on? Dongfang Chen asked. Commander, nanobots cannot get close to those sand people. As long as the distance is less than 10 centimeters, they will be directly destroyed, Little Lin replied. Commander, the exploration mission has failed, Little Lin added. Find out why the nanobots were destroyed, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Commander, checking now. Commander, there is an extremely dense electromagnetic field on the outer layer of the sand people. Nanobots will immediately fail after approaching, Little Lin quickly reported the results. This was already the second thing that restrained nanobots previously. It was discovered that there was a layer of nano-coating on the surface of the OK Empire's mecha, which had a strong adsorption to nanobots, but that was only the surface. After all, integrating nanobots into the warhead of armor-piercing bullets could effectively solve this problem, but now the electromagnetic field on the sand people might completely disable the nanobots. Daizhang, send a mecha over and try firing a few armor-piercing rounds, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Daizhang accepted the order and left half an hour later. The mecha arrived in the sky above Aksu for safety reasons. The mecha remained in flight and dared not land. Commander, the mecha is in position. Daizhang walked back and reported. Fire, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, fire, Daizhang shouted. Bang 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 bang. A burst of bullets shot towards a sand person. Shashasha. The bullets passed directly through the sand person. After hitting it, the sand person was not affected in any way. Alright, let him come back. Dongfang Chen already understood armor-piercing bullets had absolutely no effect. Chapter 527. What is here? Venerable One, did you hear that? It sounded like gunfire just now, the attendant whispered. Quiet. Jing Qi frowned. The tremor had become very faint, but there was a constant, subtle rustling sound all around. Venerable One, why do I feel like many snakes are crawling towards us? Another attendant whispered. Jing Qi didn't reply. They certainly weren't afraid of snakes. Their worry was some strange, mutated creature. Mutated creatures were too common these days on the warship. Dongfang Chen was observing the screen. The situation now looked very strange. Small black dots were coming from the northwest and converging towards the southeast, forming a fan shape. It felt like they were heading towards a specific location with a purpose. So what's there? Dongfang Chen said, pointing to their likely convergence point. Yes, Commander. The drone's altitude kept decreasing, and the image was further magnified. Now the drone had descended to a height of 5 or 6 meters above the ground. Everything on the ground was clearly visible. However, this target area was still very large, and it wasn't easy to discover anything unusual. It was like trying to find something special within a few square kilometers from an aerial perspective. Without knowing what the thing was or what its characteristics were, it was still very difficult to find. It was like playing a game of spot the difference without a reference image, which was quite straining on the eyes. Daizheng, come and take a look. See what exactly is in this area, and what are they coming here for? Dongfang Chen said, rubbing his eyes. Okay. Daizheng also leaned in, staring intently at the screen. Half an hour later, Daizheng's eyes were blurry, and tears were streaming down his face. He couldn't deny he was getting old. After all, he was over 40, and this kind of work was really strenuous. Ha, brother Dai, you're exaggerating too much. Dongfang Chen laughed. Daizheng wiped away his tears and laughed awkwardly, saying, I'm old. My eyesight's failing. Alright, let's split the screen and have them all take a look, Dongfang Chen said, shaking his head with a smile. Soon, each special operations soldier on the warship was assigned a section of the area, and they all stared at their screens, patiently observing every movement on the ground. It wasn't that Dongfang Chen hadn't considered using nanobots to investigate. It was just that they didn't have much advantage in probing the surface conditions, especially things that moved. Moreover, he wasn't sure if there were any anomalies in this area, or what those anomalies were, so he could only use a clumsy method. Venerable One, another drone is coming. Buzz drones had propellers, so they were very noisy. Conceal yourselves well. Don't move rashly. Jing Qi reminded the others. Right now, they didn't know what the tremor and rustling sounds were, but the drone must have been sent by those large warships. Jing Qi judged that their target shouldn't be the 4 of them. As long as they weren't exposed, there wouldn't be any problems. Currently, the sand people were still about 2 kilometers away from their hiding place, precisely in the area that Dongfang Chen was focusing on monitoring. The drone hovered above their heads, showing no sign of leaving. They held their breath, not even daring to breathe loudly. It was very quiet in the warship. All the special operations soldiers were staring intently at the screen, not even blinking their eyes. Dongfang Chen stood up from his seat, rubbed his eyes, walked into a room, and made a phone call. Hello, Old Kin. Little Chen, are you still in Beijing? Old Kin asked. Yes, I'm still here. What's the matter with the call? It's like this. I wanted to ask if you've ever seen sand people, Dongfang Chen asked. Although Old Kin told him to come here to look for clues, he didn't tell him that he himself had been here, which Daizheng had mentioned. However, Dongfang Chen wasn't being pretentious now and directly asked his question. Since he had been here, he might have seen them. Sand people? You encountered them? Old Kin asked. Yes. It seems you've seen them, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. That shouldn't be. Where are you now? Old Kin asked. I'm currently in the Aksu region, on the narrow passage between Lopner and the Taklamakan Desert. I'll send you my location, Dongfang Chen said. Okay. Don't act rashly. I'll set off now, Old Kin said and hung up the phone. Dongfang Chen smiled slightly. He knew he had guessed correctly. Old Kin had his own purposes for tricking him into coming here to investigate. In the command room, the special operations soldiers were still staring intently at the screen. As the sand people became more and more concentrated, the area they needed to observe became smaller and smaller. Now, each person was only responsible for an area of 500 meters on each side. Even so, they still hadn't found anything. Damn it. What exactly is here? What is the goal of these sand people? Daizheng rubbed his eyes vigorously, feeling like cursing. Chapter 528. Pure Energy Body. The sand people were becoming more and more concentrated, and the drones in the sky were becoming increasingly dense. Jinky and his companions, huddled in their earthen pit, gradually sensed the impending danger, saying, "There are more and more drones in the sky. Have we been discovered?" One of the followers couldn't help but ask. Jinky didn't speak. He could already feel the Sasa sound getting closer. The only thing he wasn't sure about was what the drones in the sky and the Sasa sound on the ground actually meant, saying, "Why don't we run quickly? If we're surrounded, we won't be able to escape." The follower continued. They were already terrified of that energy shield. Once they were trapped inside, they would become lambs to the slaughter. What they didn't know was that the energy shield couldn't be deployed just anywhere in the base. There was a control core, so a specific shield could be formed according to the designated requirements. But in the wild, it was impossible. At a distance of 2 kilometers, the sand people could arrive in more than 20 minutes now. They were only a dozen meters away. The sand person at the front had already condensed a sharp bayonet in front of them. "Retreat!" Jinky felt a sense of foreboding and shouted loudly at the same time. His body had already emerged from under the soil. Hearing Jinky's shout, the 3 followers didn't say a word and quickly flew out. "Commander, there are people here," a Special Forces member shouted immediately. Upon seeing this scene, Dongfang Chen immediately switched the screen over. They were really well hidden," Dongfang Chen said with a smile now that the target had been discovered. Everyone could breathe a sigh of relief. However, he quickly noticed something was wrong. "Are these people mutants?" Dongfang Chen said. "Definitely. Ordinary people don't have that kind of speed," Daizhang said. "Zoom in on the picture and see who they are," Dongfang Chen said. Soon, the faces of several people appeared on the screen. "Do you recognize them?" Dongfang Chen asked. "I don't recognize them," Daizhang replied. "These people were not recorded in the system, indicating that they were not trainees trained in the base. They look a little familiar." Dongfang Chen pondered. These people's faces were dirty and their hair was disheveled. He couldn't remember where he had seen them for a moment. Bang! Jinky raised his hand and shattered a sand person that was approaching. "It's him," Dongfang Chen remembered upon seeing this scene. Mainly, the leather gloves on Jinky's hands reminded him, because when Ling Luo trapped Jinky and the others, Dongfang Chen had briefly seen the scene of them being trapped, and he had a slight impression. "You recognize them?" Daizhang asked. "Yes. These people are from the Mani sect. The leader is a saint, a tier 3 mutant," Dongfang Chen said. Dongfang Chen had introduced the situation of the Mani sect to Daizhang. Tier 3. Daizhang took a deep breath now. The Special Forces members, including himself, were only tier 1. Bang bang! Several followers also took action. They retreated while attacking the sand people who were catching up. The sand people immediately collapsed under the attack, but new sand people quickly condensed. Moreover, their current movement speed was not slow, and they also had a tendency to surround a group. "What the hell are these things?" one of the followers shouted. Their mood was extremely bad. This mission into China was not going smoothly at all, and there were obstacles that they couldn't overcome everywhere. "Be careful, don't let them get close. These are sand people. They are very difficult to deal with," Jinky said. Bang bang! Sasa several followers jointly unleashed a powerful move, scattering all the sand people closest to them. saying, "What's so special about these sand people?" they asked, taking advantage of the break to catch their breath. According to the ancient books of the sect, these sand people are a kind of pure energy body, and no matter how sharp the weapon is, it cannot hurt them in the slightest. To disperse them, you can only use energy-based attacks, Jinky replied. "Let's get out of here quickly, there are really too many of them." "I'm afraid it's not a solution to keep killing them like this," one of the followers said. "Retreat," Jinky agreed. This time the group stopped attacking and ran wildly towards the southeast with a blessing of their abilities. Their escape speed was still very fast. "Commander, these people are going to slip away. Should we stop them?" Daizhang asked. "It's okay, let them run. We can just see what these sand people are going to do." Dongfang Chen didn't intend to take action. "Yes." Daizhang didn't say anything else. Half an hour later, Old Kin arrived. "Old Kin, look, it's these." Dongfang Chen didn't exchange pleasantries and went straight to the point. Old Kin hurried over in 3 steps. Coming to the front of the screen, his hands were a little trembling. His eyes looked very red. Dongfang Chen frowned. Old Kin's reaction seemed to have a story. Chapter 529 Yin Yang Fish Jade Pendant. "How did they appear?" Old Kin asked, turning his head after confirming. "I don't know either. The ground experienced a series of tremors a few hours ago, and then they appeared." Dongfang Chen also didn't understand the reason behind it. He was completely in the dark and knew nothing. "What are they doing?" Old Kin asked. "They are chasing and killing some members of the Manichaean sect," Dongfang Chen replied. The mannequin sect? The one you mentioned some time ago that might be related to Motto, Old Kin asked. That's right, Dongfang Chen nodded. Why are they here? Old Kin asked. I'm not sure either. We didn't notice their presence until these sand people launched their attack, Dongfang Chen said. Old Kin nodded, looked at the screen, and said nothing more. But I feel that these sand people have a strong sense of purpose, and they seem to be here specifically for these people, Dongfang Chen added. Oh? What's the basis for that? Old Kin asked. There's a replay here. You'll know once you watch it, Dongfang Chen said. Okay, Old Kin nodded. Dongfang Chen brought up the replay, and Old Kin sat down to watch it carefully. Another half hour passed. You're right. These sand people's actions are surprisingly consistent, clearly heading towards a target. Old Kin also reached this conclusion from the video. Do you think there's a possibility that this area is being monitored by some other force, and the purpose of the monitoring is to deal with these mannequin people? Dongfang Chen asked. That's a bold idea, and it's one of the reasons I suggested you come here to investigate, Old Kin said. Are you saying that these sand people are related to Qin Shi Huang? Dongfang Chen's tone rose sharply. Could these two things be connected? I didn't say that. Aren't you investigating the truth behind digging earth for soldiers? I'm just giving you a direction. You're the one who connected these two things, Old Kin said. Dongfang Chen was speechless. Then, when you investigated here more than 10 years ago, what did you discover? He changed the subject. How do you know I was here more than 10 years ago? Old Kin looked at him. Crap. I let it slip. Dongfang Chen thought to himself. Of course, it was discovered through investigation. He quickly covered it up. Who told you? Old Kin asked directly. The person who saved you back then. Dongfang Chen didn't say it was Dai Zhang next to him. Old Kin probably had no impression of who the rescuer was back then. The second son of the Shinta family. Old Kin asked tentatively. Who are you referring to? Commander Shentu. This was the first time Dongfang Chen had heard this term. Only those with enough seniority and rank would dare to call him that. That's right, Old Kin nodded. That's not it. I don't have any personal relationship with Commander Shentu. Dongfang Chen shook his head. Dongfang Chen's statement was also a bit problematic. Shentu Zhanghao was, after all, a high-ranking official. What were you trying to do by having a private relationship with him? However, Old Kin didn't mind as far as Dongfang Chen was concerned. Even if he wanted to do something, he didn't need to have a private relationship with Shentu Zhanghao. Moreover, Old Kin was the one who pulled strings behind the scenes for him to come to Beangle. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fly so many warships around China as if it were his own backyard. Right, Old Kin thought about it and agreed. In his opinion, Shentu Zhanghao, with his golden-tongued reputation, would find it difficult to say even one extra word, let alone say something he shouldn't. Then who did you hear it from? Old Kin stared at him intently. No, Old Kin, what are you doing? I can't possibly betray my teammates, Dongfang Chen said. Is it from the military system? Old Kin took a step back. Are you talking about now or in the past? Dongfang Chen asked. Now, Old Kin replied. No, Dongfang Chen shook his head. Since it's not from the military system, why are you protecting him? What, are you afraid I'll eat him? Old Kin's expression softened. If it was a retired soldier, then there was nothing to say. His concern was that the current cadre team was being corrupted and their positions were compromised. You're a big shot, Old Kin. I can't dig a hole for my brothers, can I? Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Only a kid like you dares to say that. If it were anyone else, they would have been dragged out and shot. Old Kin pointed at him and laughed. Alright, Old Kin, let's get back to the main topic. What exactly did you discover here before? Dongfang Chen didn't want to waste time with him. He got a headache just thinking about the twists and turns involved. If I said I didn't discover anything, would you believe me? Old Kin asked. No, Dongfang Chen shook his head decisively. The matter is actually not that complicated. More than 10 years ago, in the suburbs of Beangle City, a herding child urinated on a pile of stones and accidentally discovered a beautifully carved jade pendant. The jade pendant was carved with two fish-shaped creatures connected head to tail, one black and one white. After expert analysis, this jade pendant may be the legendary yin-yang fish jade pendant, Old Kin said. Chapter 530, Influencing People's Consciousness. Yin-yang fish jade pendant. Dongfang Chen had never heard of it. To put it simply, it's related to the ancient Xiaolin kingdom. That's why, after receiving the information, we urgently assembled an archaeological team to investigate here, Old Kin said, and then, Dongfang Chen asked, it was similar to today's scene. We were chased and killed by sand people, and several people died. Among the survivors, several also developed various mental abnormalities, Old Kin said. So, these sand people have existed for a long time. Has there been any investigation into where these sand people come from? What controls them? Dongfang Chen asked. Of course, we investigated. Later, we also commissioned the Northwest Military Region to conduct a large-scale search, but we didn't find any useful results. Until today, these sand people seem to have disappeared out of thin air and never appeared again. Old Kin replied. Dongfang Chen stopped asking and began to ponder seriously at this time. Jinqi and the others were still running wildly on the vast Gobi Desert. However, the direction of their escape had changed for some reason. They didn't continue running southeast, but had already reached the edge of the Taklamakan Desert to the south any further, and they would enter the desert. The mental state of these people seems a bit off, Dongfang Chen said, watching the actions of the people on the screen. Normal, I deeply understand that, Old Kin said. Not surprised at all. Are you saying that these sand people can affect people's consciousness? Dongfang Chen asked. I'm not sure about the specifics, and we didn't have the opportunity to study it at the time. I only know that during the escape process, our consciousness underwent subtle changes. The feeling was like being drunk. You think your mind is clear, your logic is sound, and you feel calm, but in reality, your behavior has become very strange, and you can even do some incredible things, Old Kin recalled. I see. Dongfang Chen nodded. What are they doing? Dongfang Chen asked, pointing at the screen. I don't know. They must be experiencing some kind of hallucination, Old Kin replied. In the picture, Jinqi and the other three stopped running. They knelt on the sand and dug hard. The sand people were very close. The sand knives in their hands were about to pierce the chests of the four people. At this critical moment, the four people dived into the sand and hid themselves. That works. Dongfang Chen was incredulous. It seemed they had a way to deal with it. The sand people missed and kept attacking the sand. It seemed that the sand could effectively block their attacks, and the four people were not harmed under the sand. Soon, more and more sand people gathered here. A small tornado began to blow on the scene, and the sand was constantly swept into the sky. Many sand people disintegrated and merged into this torrent under the sweep of the tornado. This caused the tornado to grow larger and larger, with more and more sand being lifted up, and the radius also becoming larger and larger. After the radius increased, even more sand people were drawn into it. The tornado became higher and higher, and the wind became stronger and stronger. The drone was forced to retreat into the distance. The four people, along with the sand, were swept into the sky. Whoosh whoosh. There seemed to be knives in the sand, constantly cutting their clothes and skin. As a result, streaks of blood appeared on their bodies, and their clothes were tattered. This tornado blew for an hour, and when it stopped, the four people had been taken into the heart of the desert 20 kilometers away. The sand people had completely disappeared. They lay dying on the sand dunes, covered in wounds. Old Kin, did you encounter a tornado last time? Dongfang Chen asked. No. Old Kin shook his head. Commander, they look like they were about to die. Should we bring them back? Daizhang asked. Bring them back, but sever their tendons and hamstrings, and take security measures. At the very least, they are tier 2 mutants, so be careful, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Daizhang accepted the order and left. Half an hour later, the warship personally led by Daizhang arrived at the scene. Fortunately, the temperature in the central area of the desert was not very high now. Otherwise, whether these people could survive was still a question. After the Special Forces members severed their hands and feet, and locked their hands, feet, and necks, they were taken into the warship. Old Kin, do you want to go see them together? Dongfang Chen invited. Forget it, I'm not going, you go ask. There's one thing you need to ask clearly, whether these sand people were brought in by them, Old Kin specifically instructed. Okay, Dongfang Chen nodded and turned to leave. In the temporary interrogation room set up on the warship, the four people were like mud, lying on the ground as if they had just been tortured. Inject nutrient solution, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, two Special Forces members walked over carrying a large box. Chapter 531. Asking for something. One person placed the medicine kit on the ground, opened it, and took out a large syringe with a diameter of 3 centimeters. Another special operations soldier took the medicine, removed the protective cap, click. He raised his arm directly and injected the needle. The technique was too violent, too crude. The unconscious Jinqi had no reaction at all. He handed out another dose of the drug, directly stabbing it into the other person's abdomen. In less than 2 minutes, the medicine was finished. After another 20 minutes, several people began to react. They opened their eyes and looked around. Where's this? An attendant asked. The others shook their heads. No one knew. Thump. Jinky sat up with a thud. Hiss. He wanted to raise his arm, but a burst of pain came from his arm. He then realized that the tendons in both of his hands had been severed. He wanted to stand up, but after struggling a few times, he realized that his Achilles tendons had also been severed. Obviously, he had been captured. Holy One, our hands and feet are broken, the attendant said. Shut up, Jinky scolded. He looked around, trying to find some useful information, but there were no results. Everyone, you can look behind you. Dongfang Chen sat on a large chair, with his legs crossed. Zhang accompanied him by the side. Huh? The sudden appearance of the voice startled several people. They collectively turned their heads to look back. Who are you? Jinky asked. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dongfang Chen. Presumably you should have heard of my name, Dongfang Chen said. You are Dongfang Chen of the Xiaolin neutral zone, Jinky asked. That's right. Dongfang Chen smiled slightly. Did you capture us? Jinky asked. Then you have wronged me. You were lying in the desert, dying, and I sent someone to save you, Dongfang Chen said. Jinky and the others exchanged glances, thinking carefully. It was like waking up from a drunken stupor the next day. They felt like they had no memory of what had just happened. However, they definitely knew they were being chased by sand people. Then what's the matter with our hands and feet? Jinky asked. Please understand. You are too dangerous. If I didn't take some protective measures, I wouldn't dare bring you back, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Humph. That sounds good. I'm afraid you have other purposes, right? Jinky didn't bite. That's natural. If you were of no use, would I waste this time? You're right, aren't you? Dongfang Chen generously admitted. What do you want to do? Jinky asked. Simple. Find out some things I want to know, Dongfang Chen replied. What is it? For example, who are you? What are you doing here? No comment. Jinky didn't have the habit of confessing originally. Dongfang Chen didn't expect to get anything out of his mouth, otherwise he would have gone to Golden City for interrogation earlier. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I know these things even if you don't say it. How about we make a deal? Dongfang Chen said. What deal? I will send you back to Nata, and you tell me some things you know. Impossible. Jinky refused decisively. You are a little unappreciative. I wonder if those three people will be like you too. Humph. Jinky glanced at them, and sneered in disdain. He believed that these attendants did not know much valuable information at all. Did you know about the existence of the sand people before this? As long as you tell me the relevant information, you can leave alive. I just want to know this one question. Think about it. Dongfang Chen put forward a question first. From the video of their fight with the sand people, it can be seen that Jinky clearly knew some characteristics of the sand people. Moreover, he felt that this matter should not be too confidential for the Mani Church, and it was not impossible to extract it from their mouths. Sure enough, after listening to Dongfang Chen's conditions, Jinky's eyes clearly moved a little. Why should I trust you? Jinky asked. You can also not believe it, but you know the consequences. Dongfang Chen said the meaning was to tell him that if he believed, he might be able to go back alive, but if he didn't believe, he would definitely die. Anyone with a brain should know how to choose. I learned about the sand people from an ancient book in the church. Jinky thought for a while and chose to answer. Oh? Tell me about it. Dongfang Chen became interested. Starting thousands of years ago, the Holy Church sent out a large number of missionaries every year. Their task was to spread the doctrines of the Holy Church to all parts of the world. Some missionaries would return after several years, but most of them might never be able to return for the rest of their lives. These returning missionaries would record what they saw and heard on the way, and this is the origin of those ancient books. Jinky briefly introduced the background. Continue. Dongfang Chen nodded. Chapter 532. There's a guess. Their mission at the time, a group of 6, was to travel to a western region's country called Xiaolin to spread their teachings. They encountered an attack on the banks of the Darim River along the way. And it was the sand people who attacked them. Ancient books record that they are not afraid of weapons and cannot be killed. Moreover, they can summon huge storms and instantly bury a city. Jinky said. Anything else? Dongfang Chen asked. That's all. Jinky shook her head. Are there any ancient books that record how these sand people came to be? Dongfang Chen asked. No. Jinky still shook her head. Why are these sand people attacking you? Dongfang Chen asked. He believed that these sand people did not attack just anyone. Old King had inadvertently revealed information in this regard. He said that people had been sent here afterward, especially since the Northwest military region had a long-term garrison nearby. But these sand people had not appeared again since they appeared once more than a decade ago. Why was that? This shows that these sand people only appear under specific conditions. So what is that condition? I'm not sure. However, Ancient books have such a record that the eastern country is protected by powerful gods and cannot be proselytized. Jinky added. Dongfang Chen nodded. If it were in the past, he would have thought this was nonsense, but the things that are happening now make him believe it. He had guessed the sand people would appear after the Manichaeans arrived. Other people would not. In other words, the reason why these sand people appeared was to eliminate the Manichaean followers who appeared in this area. Only this hypothesis can explain the current situation, but this hypothesis itself is very strange. What could specifically target Manichaeism? This is too weird. There is also a conclusion from the situation. Jinky said, these sand people have existed for a very long time, so where did these sand people come from? Is there anything else to add? Dongfang Chen asked routinely. No, Jinky replied. Is that so? Then I need them to do something for me. Would you mind? Dongfang Chen asked. Can I object? Jinky glanced at him. He knew it wouldn't be so easy to leave. No. You can rest assured that since I said I would send you back, I will definitely do it. However, the information you provide is limited, which forces me to think of other ways. Dongfang Chen found some reasons for his statement. Jinky closed her eyes and said nothing. Okay, since you're not talking, I'll take it as you agree. Dongfang Chen smiled. Bring one person out, he said to Daizhang next to him. Yes, Daizhang accepted the order and began to make arrangements. What Dongfang Chen wanted to do was very simple. He planned to use one of them as bait, see if the sand people would appear. Sure enough, after a follower was thrown down, the ground began to vibrate again. This situation was exactly the same as what he saw in the morning. It's just that this time the vibration was not so violent. Before long, the vibration almost disappeared, and a group of black dots began to appear. The positions were all distributed in the narrow strip of land south of the Peacock River and north of the Darim River. After these sand people appeared, they began to move towards the follower. Dongfang Chen could basically be sure that these sand people were coming for the Manichaeans. Bring him up. Dongfang Chen ordered. Daizhang immediately issued the order. Several special forces soldiers quickly went down and brought the man back. Before long, a gust of wind blew, and these sand people were blown away, and the ground returned to calm. After seeing this, Old Qin frowned deeply and said nothing. Old Qin, what do you think? Dongfang Chen asked. Now it can basically be confirmed that the target of the sand people is these Manichaeans, Old Qin said. Old Qin knew what Dongfang Chen's experiment was all about. Old Qin, this shows that among the people who came here with you to investigate more than 10 years ago, there were Manichaeans. Dongfang Chen reminded. Old Qin nodded and said nothing. This was the reason why he was frowning. Dongfang Chen didn't know the specific details at the time, so he couldn't say much. Old Qin needed to assess the remaining matters himself. Oh, right. Old Qin, did you want to imply to me by letting me come here to investigate that these sand people were set up by Qin Shi Huang? Dongfang Chen asked. I've already said it. Nothing like that happened. Don't talk nonsense, Old Qin replied. Then where is the yin-yang fish jade pendant you mentioned earlier? Dongfang Chen asked. It should be in the cultural department, but it's hard to say whether it can still be found now. Moreover, this thing has nothing to do with what you want to investigate, and it's useless for you to take it. Old Qin replied. The role of the yin-yang fish jade pendant is to uncover the veil of the ancient Xiaolin kingdom, and it is indeed useless for Dongfang Chen to take it. However, he knew that there were still things behind this that he didn't understand. Where did these sand people come from? Who set it up? The purpose of this thing is too obvious. It is to stop the Manichaeans. Therefore, he certainly doesn't believe that it wasn't set up by someone. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533 Kyoto Riot. Commander, what should we do with these people? Daizhang asked. Kill them, Dongfang Chen said. Ah. Kill them? Daizhang was stunned. Old Qin was also taken aback, but didn't say anything. What's wrong? Are you related to them? Dongfang Chen asked, looking at him. No, Commander, didn't you say we were going to send them back? Daizhang asked. Everyone is busy. Who has the time to be a free driver for them? Dongfang Chen said. But, Daizhang wanted to say something, but didn't. Well, you're right. It's really not appropriate to just kill them. Alright, Old Qin, do you need them? If you do, I'll give them to you. Dongfang Chen suddenly changed his mind. Daizhang was stunned again. What did I say? But he just thought about it and didn't dare to ask. What would I do with them? No, Old Qin shook his head. Old Qin, have you thought about it carefully? Such good bait. Are you sure you don't want it? Dongfang Chen winked at him. You mean? Old Qin's eyes lit up. I didn't say anything. You decide for yourself. Dongfang Chen shook his head. Heh, you little rascal. Alright, I'll take these people. Old Qin pointed at him and laughed. Dai Zhang was completely confused by what he heard. Alright then. But let's make it clear in advance, after you're done using them, you have to send them back. Lest people say I'm a man of broken promises, don't you think? Dongfang Chen said with a smile. You don't want to suffer even the slightest loss. Old Qin pouted. It's our duty as the younger generation to contribute to the country. Dongfang Chen said jokingly. Alright, go make the arrangements. Old Qin couldn't listen anymore. Dai Zhang, make sure the safety measures are in place. Make sure they take all the medicine they're supposed to. Don't miss a single one. You hear? Dongfang Chen instructed. Oh, yes. Dai Zhang tried hard to digest Dongfang Chen's words and left as ordered. Take all the medicine they're supposed to? What does that mean? Dai Zhang wondered as he walked. Dongfang Chen sent him a message through his digital eye. Listening capsules and nanocapsules. Phew, okay. It's easier to handle with a prescription. Dai Zhang took a deep breath. Listening capsules are for monitoring. Nanocapsules are for killing them inside the temporary interrogation room. What did you give me to eat? Jinky asked. Something to help you recover from your injuries. Dai Zhang lead. HMPH. You think I'll believe that? I'm afraid that Dongfang Chen isn't planning on sending us back, is he? Jinky had expected this. You're wrong about our commander. He will definitely do what he promised you, but you need to do something for him before that. Dai Zhang replied. Do something? What? Jinky asked. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, as long as you cooperate well, you will definitely be able to go back after it's done. Dai Zhang replied. Anyway, after the people are handed over to Old Qin, it has nothing to do with him how they are dealt with. Jinky stopped talking and quietly closed her eyes after the handover was completed. Old Qin left with the people. Dongfang Chen had not planned to leave yet. He wanted to conduct a deeper investigation into the area south of the Peacock River and north of the Darim River. He had a premonition that a huge secret was hidden behind the salmon incident. 3 days later, large-scale riots suddenly broke out in Kyoto. 5 Kyoto-affiliated underground bases simultaneously besieged Kyoto. These 5 council-affiliated underground bases are Kyoto Jiji Underground Base, Kyoto-ru Underground Base, Kyoto-zai Underground Base, Kyoto-Li Underground Base, and Kyoto-Fang Underground Base. At this time, the central Kyoto Underground Base was still under construction. These 5 bases, with the support of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce and the Mercenary Guild during this period, already possessed a large number of warships and weapons. It is said that these 5 regions are directly under the jurisdiction of the council, but after the outbreak of the virus, they were actually all taken over by the military and political department. Originally, the central military region had 20,000 troops stationed in each resettlement area, the purpose of which was to maintain the stability of these places. Later, after Huituang construction obtained military construction qualifications, the underground bases in these 5 places began to be built simultaneously. After the underground bases were completed, the situation quietly changed. Originally, the military and political department exclusively controlled the management power, and the temporary headquarters of several resettlement areas were just a formality, only able to cooperate in completing some manual labor. After all, the source of living materials completely relied on the military and political department, and the temporary headquarters had no capital to speak of. But now, the entry of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce has completely changed this situation. The security team of the resettlement area has undergone a complete transformation, and its equipment is no less inferior to that of the Central Army. Without a monopoly of materials, no one was willing to obey the orders of the military and political department. This right was because the military and political department, in cooperation with the Central Army, forcibly took away more than 230 people from various underground bases. A large part of them were the management of various underground bases, and they did not give prior notice or give a clear explanation. Chapter 534 Fleet Hijacked. Bai Liji was furious and ordered Xiang Yangping of the Ministry of Civil Affairs to negotiate. Xiang Yangping had no choice but to bite the bullet and go. As a result, he was thoroughly berated. Despite his anger, Bai Liji couldn't directly send troops to suppress them. After all, there were still 20,000 soldiers imprisoned in each base. Once the situation escalated, the consequences would be unimaginable. Furthermore, if the council clashed with these directly affiliated bases, the negative impact on other regions of the country would be permanent. This would lead to strong vigilance against the council in local areas, which would be very detrimental to unity. After Xiang Yangping returned with a bruised face, Bai Liji sent Yu Ming from the Public Security Department. Now, The functions of the public security department had been completely emptied, and he had been a transparent figure for a long time. Kyoto had the military and political affairs department, and the local areas had temporary headquarters, so there was no need for him to do any work at all. However, being useless was one thing, but his title was still there, and it was considered his duty to come forward to negotiate this matter, perhaps because Yumin didn't have much involvement with the various bases, nor any deep grudges. He wasn't scolded this time. The heads of the bases clearly stated their demands, asking the council to explain why these 230-plus people were arrested. The council didn't provide an explanation, and the bases refused to withdraw without one. The two sides were deadlocked over this matter. Warning. Battleship power failure. Warning. Battleship communication system failure. Warning. Battleship control system failure. Dongfang Chen had been investigating here for 3 consecutive days, but had found nothing. Just as he was feeling frustrated, the battleship suddenly began to sound alarms. Xiaolin, what's going on? Dongfang Chen asked. No response. The battleship's communication system had been paralyzed. Bang, bang, bang. Someone knocked on the door. Dongfang Chen opened the door, and it was Daizhang. Commander, something's wrong. Our battleship has lost control, Daizhang said seriously. Dongfang Chen walked to the window and looked outside. The situation was very strange. The battleship's power system had failed, but the battleship hadn't fallen. It was still hovering steadily in the air. Can the metra be used? Dongfang Chen asked. No, it can't. Daizhang shook his head. This was troublesome. With a communication failure, he couldn't do anything. It's moving. It's moving. A special operations soldier suddenly shouted. The battleship was turning around. The acceleration caused by the rotation caused everyone to lean in one direction. Everyone quickly looked for a wall to maintain their balance. What's going on? Dongfang Chen was dumbfounded. The battleship, without power, was actually heading south. This was very unscientific. Now they couldn't do anything. The metra couldn't be used, and even the armor couldn't be put on. Strangely, even the combat suits couldn't be activated. The battleship's doors couldn't be opened, and they couldn't even jump out. The drones couldn't be controlled, and the several unreleased queen bees on the battleship couldn't be used either. There were no operable permissions. The digital eye pupils couldn't be opened. It wasn't just the main ship that Dongfang Chen was on. The other battleships were the same. How did he know? Because all the battleships were uniformly gliding south, which could be seen through the windows. Have everyone come over and use their abilities to open the hatch, Dongfang Chen said. Abilities can't be used either, Daizhang replied simply. Abilities can't be used either. Dongfang Chen was stunned again. This was tragic. Besides watching, there was nothing they could do. Break the windows. This was the last resort. The glass on the battleship wasn't easy to break, but they had to try. They couldn't just sit and wait for death. Yes, bang, 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 bang. Weapons couldn't be used, so everyone could only find axes and smash them hard. After dozens of hits, there wasn't a single mark on the glass. This glass is really too hard. Daizhang sighed beside Dongfang Chen. Dongfang Chen didn't speak. He designed the battleship, and the glass was indeed special. Very thick and very tough, but it shouldn't be impossible to make even a scratch. This was unscientific. Several special operations soldiers smashed for more than 10 minutes, panting, and ultimately failed. Commander, this is a bit weird. Is our battleship being controlled by something? Daizhang asked. Everyone, rest for a while. Dongfang Chen still didn't answer, saying it casually. Things were very weird. The battleship, without power, was flying south at a constant speed like a ghost. If it wasn't being controlled, it definitely wouldn't be like this, but he couldn't admit this. Otherwise it would disturb everyone's mind. Since it was being controlled, it meant there was someone controlling it. If someone was controlling it, there must be some kind of purpose now. Since they couldn't escape, they should just wait and see. He believed that these questions would soon be answered. Chapter 535, Bragging Robot. Half an hour later, the warship sailed out of the Dareen Basin and entered the Kunlun Mountains. Rumble rumble hwar. A burst of violent sound rang out, and a mountain peak directly in front grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Commander, look, Daizhang shouted. Yes, I see it. Dongfang Chen stood in front of the window, answering without turning his head. Rumble rumble hwar. A door opened in the middle of the newly appeared mountain peak, revealing a huge cave. The warship flew straight towards the cave. Everyone's eyes went dark, like a train entering a tunnel, and they couldn't see anything. A feeling of weightlessness. Dongfang Chen knew that the warship was descending. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. The warship kept descending for an hour before stopping. Clang 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 clang. Suddenly, many lights lit up in the cave, completely dispelling the darkness. Everyone hurriedly covered their eyes with their hands. After adapting to the light, Everyone slowly looked outside. While everyone was collectively speechless, what came into view was a circular flying saucer countless times larger than their warship. If the flying saucer was the size of a sesame flatbread, then their warship was like a sesame seed on the flatbread. It could be seen how big this flying saucer was. Why did they know it was a flying saucer? Because this thing was very similar to the alien flying saucers that appeared in movies. Buzz Dongfang Chen suddenly disappeared from his spot. "Commander," Dai Zheng shouted, but it was to no avail. With a flash of blue light, Dongfang Chen was gone. Dai Zheng leaned on the window and looked outside. The flying saucer opposite was silent, and he didn't know where the person had gone. But with another flash, Dongfang Chen appeared in a strange hall. Strange, really strange. A hovering, oval-shaped robot kept circling around Dongfang Chen, making a child's voice as it turned. Dongfang Chen turned his head to the left, then turned his head to the right, looking at this strange robot. "What's strange?" Dongfang Chen asked. "You're not a Nata person. How can you possess their technology?" the child asked when Dongfang Chen heard this sentence. His head buzzed. No one knew about this matter except himself. "How did this guy know?" "Your heartbeat is accelerating. You seem very nervous," the robot said. "How do you know about the Nata people?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Of course I know. There's nothing that happens on Blue Star that I don't know," the robot said. "Who are you?" Dongfang Chen asked. "We'll talk about that later. You first tell me, how did you come to possess the Nata people's technology?" the robot asked. "Didn't you say that there's nothing that happens on Blue Star that you don't know? Why are you still asking me?" Dongfang Chen certainly wouldn't rashly tell the truth without knowing what the other party's background was. I admit, there's a little bit of bragging in that," the robot said awkwardly. Because it was a child's voice, it added a sense of humor. "Did you bring me here?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Yes," the robot replied. "Why?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Before I tell you, I need to figure out what relationship you have with those Nata people," the robot said. "No relationship," Dongfang Chen replied. "That's right. Those guys have disappeared for a long time. It's impossible for you to have a relationship with them," the robot said. "How do you know about the Nata people?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Because I was the one who helped them develop," the robot said. "What?" Dongfang Chen was greatly startled. "What are you doing?" "You scared me," the robot hurriedly dodged far away. "How long have you been here?" Dongfang Chen asked. "In your units of measurement, hundreds of thousands of years, I guess," the robot replied. "Keep making it up. Keep making it up. Only hundreds of thousands of years. How could you have met the Nata people?" Dongfang Chen directly exposed his lie. The Nata people existed 230 million years ago, and he had only been here for hundreds of thousands of years. The time didn't match up. He now basically determined that this was a bragging robot. "I'm not lying to you. I wasn't here before. I only came over hundreds of thousands of years ago," the robot said, a little unconvinced. "Then where were you before?" Dongfang Chen asked. "I've been to many places. Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, and finally I came here," the robot replied. Dongfang Chen was silent. He suddenly remembered a sentence said by the Mayans. That high priest said that there used to be life on several planets in the solar system, but it later disappeared. If the two are confirmed, then maybe what this bragging little guy said is true. "You said that the Nata people developed with your help, but what evidence is there?" Dongfang Chen asked. This, actually. It was just some indirect help," the robot said vaguely. Dongfang Chen was speechless. It really was a bragging robot. "Hey. Okay. Let me tell you the truth. I helped them eliminate the bugs on Blue Star. That's why they had the opportunity to develop," the robot said truthfully, seeing Dongfang Chen's face full of disbelief. "Bugs? What bugs?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Just those disgusting bugs. Haven't you seen them? Those buzzing bugs," the robot said disgustedly. He only had a head and no body, but he could actually show a disgusted reaction, which was also bizarre. Chapter 536. It wasn't intentional. Disgusting bugs? The Tasman insect civilization. Dongfang Chen suddenly thought of something. Such disgusting things, and you have the nerve to call it a civilization, the robot disapproved. "Well, regarding the definition of civilization, there might be a difference between Dongfang Chen and this little guy in the human definition. As long as a species produces cognitive achievements and can pass these achievements on to future generations in a non-genetic form, then it can be said that this species has produced a civilization. I would like to ask, how did you destroy the Tasman civilization?" Dongfang Chen was very curious about this. "That's very simple. I just slightly lowered the temperature of Blue Star, and they all died," the robot said. Dongfang Chen was truly speechless towards him. He was so full of himself, such boasting. You think Blue Star is your refrigerator, and lowered the temperature a little bit. You say it like it's true. Dongfang Chen said, it is true. Why would I lie to you? The robot was unhappy. Then tell me, how could you lower the temperature of Blue Star a little bit? Dongfang Chen used his words to ask him. That's very simple. I scattered plant seeds from Mercury onto Blue Star, and the temperature quickly dropped. The robot explained. Plants from Mercury? Dongfang Chen had never heard of such an operation before. That's right, many of the plants you see now are Mercury plants. Of course, I planted all of these back then, the robot said, his words full of boasting. Dongfang Chen pondered carefully. What this little guy said wasn't impossible. There has never been a reasonable explanation for the several major species explosions on Blue Star, and the differences between many species are extremely large, even feeling like they didn't evolve from the same ecosystem if they were migrated from other planets. It would make sense. Moreover, when he was previously searching for traces of the Nata civilization, he checked relevant information and found that there was indeed a slight cooling during that historical period, leading to the extinction of many species at the same time. A large number of plant species suddenly appeared worldwide, and the entire land was covered with dense forests. Most of the coal and oil on Blue Star came from that period, which shows how lush the vegetation was at that time. Lush vegetation would accelerate the consumption of carbon dioxide in the air. An increase in oxygen content and a decrease in carbon dioxide in the air would lead to a drop in temperature. This is indeed logically sound. On the other hand, most species are actually very sensitive to climate. Small changes in climate can potentially lead to a major collapse of the entire Blue Star ecological chain. Take the current situation, for example. The temperature drop caused by red oxygen is actually still very slight, but most areas of the Earth's surface are no longer suitable for human habitation. If it weren't for the underground bases, most people would probably die within a few months. Even humans can't survive in the face of such climate change, so the situation of other species can be imagined. Therefore, this little guy isn't completely boasting. Why did you want to destroy the bugs on Blue Star? Dongfang Chen continued to ask. Oh, I didn't do it on purpose. Who knew they were so fragile? The robot said evasively. Definitely not wanting to admit that it had made a mistake. Dongfang Chen couldn't help but feel his right eyelid twitch. He couldn't even respond to that. Destroying a civilization, and possibly other species, with a wave of the hand. This tone was like a child unintentionally making a small mistake. He didn't know if the little guy in front of him was truly innocent or pretending to be. You say you didn't do it on purpose, but why does it sound like you did it on purpose? Dongfang Chen wanted to tease him a bit. I already said I didn't do it on purpose. Why don't you believe me? The robot was a little temperamental. Alright, you didn't do it on purpose. Then let me ask you, why did you help the Nata people? Dongfang Chen asked from a different angle. They were actually quite cute, with big eyes. So adorable, the robot said, feeling a hint of nostalgia. However, they were actually raised by those hateful bugs and used as food. That's just too hateful. His emotions made a 180-degree turn, and now he was particularly angry. This personality was like a teenage girl. That's normal. We humans also raise many kinds of animals to serve as food. Dongfang Chen didn't think there was anything wrong with that. It's different, the robot said. Obviously, he also knew how humans raised animals now. Where's it different? Dongfang Chen didn't understand. Oh. Don't ask, it's just different. The robot didn't want to answer. Chapter 537, Blue Star is being monitored. Did you come to Blue Star more than 200 million years ago? Dongfang Chen changed the question. It's not like I come here often, just occasionally, the robot replied. Dongfang Chen really wanted to strangle him. Can't he just speak like a normal person? Okay, well, he's not human either. Who created you? Dongfang Chen asked. I can't say that yet. Unless you tell me why you have mastered the technology of the Natas. Great, the topic is back to square one. You're quite principled. Is this matter very important? Dongfang Chen said. Very important, the robot said. Forget it, I don't want to know either. What did you bring me here for today? Dongfang Chen didn't want to keep arguing with him. He had tried many times, but the digital eyes wouldn't open, and he couldn't contact Xiaolin either. Staying here is dangerous. It's for this matter, the robot said matter-of-factly. Dongfang Chen was speechless. So, if he doesn't tell the truth today, he won't be able to leave. What if I just don't tell you? He asked. If you don't tell me, I'll read your memories, the robot said. Dongfang Chen was startled. He didn't doubt that this guy had such means. Didn't you also help the Natas? Why does it sound like you have a grudge against them? Dongfang Chen asked. It's not really a grudge, I just want to know how they preserve their civilization, the robot replied. What good will knowing that do? Dongfang Chen asked. This question was very important, as it related to whether the robot in front of him would be his enemy. As long as it's not that kind of method, I can tolerate it. The robot said this very seriously, and one could hear the deep-seated hatred behind it. You're confusing me. What kind of method are you worried about? Dongfang Chen asked. Alright, I'll ask you one more time, are you going to tell me or not? The robot didn't want to say, okay, I'll talk. As long as you let me understand what you're worried about, I'll talk. Dongfang Chen didn't dare to tease him anymore, afraid that he would suffer. Alright. This matter can be discussed. To tell you the truth, Blue Star is currently being monitored. The robot no longer joked around, and his words were very heavy. Being monitored? Monitored by whom? Dongfang Chen suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Even this guy in front of him had to be treated with caution, so it was likely a super powerful existence. On the moon, there are survivors of the Sirius star system, and they are constantly monitoring the situation on Blue Star, the robot replied. Sirius star system? How could they be on the moon? Dongfang Chen asked. A billion blue star years ago, the solar system was a very active star system. There was life on Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Blue Star. It's just that all of this was changed in the war with the Sirius star system, the robot said. What was the final outcome of that war? Dongfang Chen asked. Mercury, as the most developed planet in the solar system, was destroyed in that war. Some of the fragments were swallowed by the sun, and the rest formed the current Mercury, the robot said. Are you saying that the original Mercury wasn't there? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes, its orbit was originally between Mars and Jupiter, and its mass was between Mars and Blue Star, the robot replied. I see. What happened next? Dongfang Chen asked. Mars and Venus, as two human colony planets, still had many survivors. They gathered all their strength and finally annihilated the Sirius star system's warships, achieving victory, the robot said. Since they achieved victory, why did Mars and Venus become like they are now? Where did those survivors go? Dongfang Chen asked. That was later. The specific process is very complicated, but simply put, it was all the Sirius survivors hiding behind the moon who were causing trouble, the robot explained. Since you know they're causing trouble, why didn't you eliminate them sooner? Dongfang Chen asked. It's all too late. When I last arrived at Blue Star from Venus, I accidentally discovered their existence. Judging from the timeline, they have been there for nearly a billion years, the robot said dejectedly. A billion years? How is that possible? Dongfang Chen simply didn't believe it. It's difficult for a civilization to last even a few thousand years. A Sirius warship can stay on the moon for a billion years? What a joke. What's impossible about that? The robot said disdainfully. Then what is the purpose? Dongfang Chen asked. According to the information I have now, their purpose is to completely eliminate human civilization. Whether they have other purposes, I don't know, the robot replied. Then why did they stay on the moon for a billion years instead of taking action sooner? Dongfang Chen couldn't understand. Based on the data analysis, they no longer have the ability to attack, the robot replied. Chapter 538 New DNA Fragments. The little guy revealed too much information, leaving Dongfang Chen at a loss for words. What else do you want to know? The robot asked. See if I understand correctly. The earliest civilization in the solar system began on Mercury 1 billion years ago. Then they colonized Mars and Venus. That's right, the robot affirmed. Later, warships from the Sirius star system came, and war broke out. This war led to the destruction of Mercury, part of it falling into the sun, and the other part becoming the Mercury we know today. Yes, the survivors on Mars and Venus launched a counterattack against the Sirius star system warships, and then achieved victory but suffered heavy losses. That's not right. At that time, most of humanity's warships were docked in the orbits of Mars and Venus, and that war ultimately achieved a complete victory. Then, if you achieved a complete victory, why did it become like this? Dongfang Chen asked. Actually, humans were engaged in a war at that time. The three main superpowers at the time were the Dragon Country, the Bagu Country, and the Say America Country. According to the peace treaty, Mercury, as the common home of humanity, was not allowed to engage in any form of war. So, in reality, Mars and Venus were the main battlefields for everyone's struggles, the robot explained. So, after the Sirius star system warships were destroyed, a civil war broke out again. Dongfang Chen asked. No. After Mercury was destroyed, Venus and Mars became humanity's new homes. After a long period of negotiations, the three countries finally reached a new peace treaty. According to the new peace treaty, Venus became the new survival star, and Mars became the military star. Why was it necessary to establish a survival star? Dongfang Chen asked. Firstly, because the weapons of each country were too advanced and could instantly destroy a country. In this situation, stationing troops on the survival star was too dangerous. On the other hand, building warships required a large amount of materials and energy, which would lead to the destruction of the planet's ecology and the depletion of resources, the robot explained. I see. But since a peace treaty was reached, how did everyone disappear later? Dongfang Chen asked. I only discovered this matter tens of thousands of years ago after discovering the remnants of Sirius on the moon. Dongfang Chen quietly looked at him, waiting for him to continue. Those remnants weren't just hiding there, doing nothing. On the contrary, they did a lot of small things in secret. These small actions are mainly divided into three types: genetic attacks, virus attacks, and indirect attacks. Not long after destroying the Sirius star system warships, Venus experienced a large-scale population disappearance event. Within a short period of 500 Venusian years, the human population plummeted by 80%. Not only humans, but other species that migrated from Mercury also experienced large-scale disappearances. Initially, no one realized that this matter was premeditated. The unanimous conclusion of scientists was that it was caused by humans' own genetic defects. Some even came up with a species extinction hypothesis, believing that any species would inevitably undergo hereditary extinction on a large time scale. That is to say, the extinction of any species is inevitable. It wasn't until hundreds of thousands of years ago that I discovered a newly added DNA fragment by analyzing human gene samples. This DNA fragment can be understood as a backdoor program, which makes humans more susceptible to certain viruses. The robot briefly introduced. What ruthless methods? Dongfang Chen exclaimed. Actually, a lot of things happened in between. But I won't go into details now. In short, you just need to understand one thing: I am not your enemy, the robot said. Dongfang Chen looked at him without answering. He admitted that this was not just a bragging robot, at least he fully understood his own thoughts and knew his concerns. Now can you tell me, why are you able to master the Nata people's technology? The robot asked. Alright. My story is very simple. Before the Nata people were wiped out, they launched a miniature space station into space. This space station has been in a dormant state. Dongfang Chen then told everything he knew. So that's how it is. These guys can be considered to have stumbled upon it. The robot nodded and said after listening to Dongfang Chen's account. What do you mean? Dongfang Chen asked. Fortunately, his space station was in a dormant state most of the time, otherwise it would have been impossible to preserve it for more than 200 million years, the robot said. How so? Dongfang Chen asked. The Sirius star system controls a group of puppets, collectively known as the Morny people, through genetic attacks. More than 200 million years ago, they came to Blue Star and destroyed the civilization established by the Nata people. So, if this space station wasn't very small and hadn't been in a dormant state for a long time, it wouldn't have survived until now, the robot said. I see, Dongfang Chen exclaimed. Chapter 539, No Inheritance. So, do we belong to the human survivors? Dongfang Chen asked curiously. The Mayan high priest said that they had all migrated from Venus, so theoretically, they should be human survivors, of course. Otherwise, why would I bring you here? The robot replied. Then I have a new question. Since the technology of humans was once very advanced, why did it decline later? At least, from the information I know, primitive people live a life of drinking blood. Dongfang Chen asked. Drinking blood? Are you sure you're talking about humans, and not some other animal? The robot asked. Dongfang Chen was speechless. It seemed so. After all, apes were not humans, and now there is no evidence that humans evolved from apes, but the low level of ancient technology is also a fact, Dongfang Chen said. This is because the survivors who migrated from Venus did not successfully pass on the achievements of civilization. But it's not entirely like that. Some human races can inherit a part of their memory through genetic inheritance. But it is very limited, the robot replied. Didn't pass it down. Dongfang Chen probably understood what it meant. It's like a group of amnesiacs trapped on an island. They don't know anything, and can't even write. That's no different from a group of primitive people, and in many ways, They are not even as good as primitive people, and may not even have the most basic survival skills. Everything needs to start from scratch. This requires generations, dozens, or even dozens of generations of continuous exploration and accumulation of knowledge to build a new civilization. On the other hand, there are many unsolved mysteries in human history. For example, the Mayans had a complete astronomical calendar thousands of years ago, including the Blue Star calendar and the Venus calendar. People on Blue Star didn't even understand their own planet, so why would they be free to study the Venus calendar? If we follow this little guy's explanation, it makes sense. The Mayans can inherit some knowledge through heredity, which gives them a very high starting point. Yes, it was not passed down. During the long years on Venus, humans and the Moni people controlled by Sirius continued to have conflicts and wars. In addition, with the ravages of viruses and ecological crises, human survival became more and more difficult. During this process, more and more knowledge was lost. The robot replied, "This is understandable. Just like now, people are huddled in underground bases. Eating is a problem, so how many people will sit in the classroom to learn knowledge? This generation can understand some things without learning, but at the same time, they will also miss some things if the crisis cannot be resolved, and it is passed down from generation to generation. The knowledge that is missed will become more and more. By then, there will be a break in the inheritance of civilization. But no matter how the fault occurs, some essential knowledge will definitely be passed down. For example, language and writing. So, there must be other things in between. Then how did the human survivors come to Blue Star?" Dongfang Chen asked. "No one came to Blue Star. The current survivors are all cultivated by me," the robot replied. "What?" Dongfang Chen was shocked. "What's so surprising about this? We have a sound gene pool. Isn't it normal to cultivate new life?" The robot gave another contemptuous look. "Technically, there is no problem." Dongfang Chen was surprised because this operation was completely beyond his expectations. "Since you have the ability to come here from Venus, why don't you transport them here?" Dongfang Chen asked. "That's not my mission. I was independently manufactured by the Dragon Kingdom after the Second Peace Treaty was signed. My main task is to continuously optimize the Blue Star's ecology and cultivate a new home for humans." At that time, Blue Star had already had the most primitive single-celled organisms, but the oxygen content in the atmosphere was still very low. In comparison, Venus at that time was already a fairly habitable planet, and there was no need to migrate to Blue Star. There is another reason in between. All along, no one knew that the Moni people were puppets controlled by the remnants of Sirius, including themselves. I only discovered this when I came to Blue Star for the last time. But it was too late. By then, humans on Venus had been completely extinct for nearly 1 billion years, the robot replied. "Extinct for nearly 1 billion years? Have you been performing the task alone all this time?" Dongfang Chen couldn't help but gasp. "Not entirely. There were originally many relatively independent underground bases on Mars and Blue Star. My spaceship can get supplies and repairs there. But now this is the only one left. The other bases have been damaged due to frequent geological activity," the robot said. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540. Who issued the task? Wait a minute, didn't you say the Nata civilization was destroyed by the Moni people more than 200 million years ago? How can you say the humans on Venus have been extinct for 1 billion years? Isn't that a contradiction? Dongfang Chen asked. Moni is just a general term. Do you think gene attacks are only effective against humans? Based on the DNA samples collected so far, there are as many as 208 species of organisms that are currently or were once controlled by the Sirius survivors, the robot replied. Are you saying that other species destroyed the Nata civilization? Dongfang Chen asked. You could say that. Actually, based on what we know now, it's all their own fault. You may not know that the life forms on Sirius are completely different from those on Blue Star, the robot said. Don't tell me they are silicon-based life forms, Dongfang Chen said, realizing the implication. You know, the robot seemed a little surprised. That's right. Some time ago, I discovered a type of silicon-based microorganism during my exploration. Dongfang Chen nodded. It seems the decision to find you was the right one, the robot said. Continue. Dongfang Chen gestured for him to continue. After the Nata people entered the space age, they explored the Moon, Venus, and Mars one after another. Now it seems that this was the starting point of the Blue Star crisis. I guess that in the beginning, the serious survivors didn't target Blue Star as an attack target. Their main goal was to completely destroy human civilization. Otherwise, that disgusting worm couldn't have developed on Blue Star. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that their energy was running out, and they could only do so much. The Nata people entering the space age may have made them feel very dangerous. That's why the Maoni people invaded later. Where did these Maoni people come from? Dongfang Chen asked. Judging from the style of the warships, they should have originated from a Mars military base in the United Americas. Originally, there was constant infighting among the humans on Venus, and Mars had long been abandoned as a military star. In just 500 years, the human population not only decreased by 80%, but the technological capabilities also regressed significantly. The countries no longer had the means to travel to Mars, so there was no one on Mars. In addition, long-term human overexploitation and a subsequent asteroid impact event completely destroyed the Martian ecosystem. It was completely reduced to a barren land. The Nata people must have inadvertently brought silicon-based life forms to Mars. They developed and evolved there, and finally returned to Blue Star via the United Americas warships, which led to their demise. But these are just my speculations, the robot explained. Isn't your speculation too bizarre? Is it possible for silicon-based life forms to control the warships of the United Americas? Dongfang Chen found it hard to believe. My speculation is based on evidence. First, it was indeed the United Americas warships that attacked Blue Star at that time. I saw it myself, and there's absolutely no mistake about that. But the people of the United Americas had been extinct for more than 700 million years. How could their warships have flown over from Mars? Dongfang Chen nodded, indicating his agreement. This point was indeed very strange. Second, all of the warships were robots. And I detected the presence of silicon-based life forms in the remaining samples of the warships. Third, if the serious survivors had the ability to control these warships, they could have directly invaded Venus using the same method 1 billion years ago. At that time, humans no longer had the ability to resist those warships, and the success rate would have been higher. Why wait for more than 700 million years for nothing? So I judged that these silicon-based life forms went to Mars later, the robot said, stating his deduction. Then why didn't they use these warships to return to the Sirius system? Dongfang Chen thought from another perspective, but this was from a human's point of view. As for what the Sirius survivors were thinking, no one knew. I guess it's because of insufficient energy. And we can't rule out another possibility, the robot said. What possibility? Dongfang Chen asked. There's one thing that's very strange. After the Sirius warships were completely wiped out in that battle, no new warships ever arrived. There's only one explanation for this. Are you saying that there was also a problem with their star system? Dongfang Chen understood. Yes, and that possibility is very high, the robot replied. That's right, only that can explain it. Dongfang Chen nodded. If I'm not mistaken, you only started cultivating humans hundreds of thousands of years ago, right? Why did it take so long? The Blue Star's ecology should have met the conditions for human survival long ago, right? Dongfang Chen asked. I don't have that authority. This task was only issued hundreds of thousands of years ago, and I'm just carrying it out according to the task requirements, the robot replied. Who issued the task? Dongfang Chen asked. Chapter 541 Rebuilding the Dragon Kingdom. Who issued the mission? The plan to optimize Blue Star's ecology was formulated by Dragon Country. After formulating this plan, Dragon Country secretly built an underground base on Mars. This base was not registered with a federal committee formed by the three countries, so it doesn't have formal passage permission. All missions are issued from that Mars base, and I am only responsible for executing them, the robot explained. So, even though Dragon Country declined later, that secret Mars base is still operating? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes. The base is fully automated, and there are many robots responsible for maintaining the equipment, the robot replied. Why are you telling me these secrets? Dongfang Chen asked. Because the last instruction I received was to rebuild Dragon Country, the robot replied. Dongfang Chen nodded. When did this happen? Dongfang Chen asked. A year ago, the robot replied. So that base is still running? Dongfang Chen muttered to himself. Of course, otherwise I would have been paralyzed long ago, the robot replied. Are you asking me to cooperate with you? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes, the robot replied. How do I cooperate? Dongfang Chen asked. To ensure the absolute security of the plan, We must first verify your identity. The robot said. What do you mean? Dongfang Chen asked. To completely rule out the possibility that you are a moaner, the robot replied. Wait? Didn't you say that you only discovered the remnants of Sirius tens of thousands of years ago? At that time, Dragon Country had already been destroyed for 1 billion years. How could they know about the existence of the moaner and formulate such a plan? Dongfang Chen asked. The task of rebuilding Dragon Country was preset, but the implementation steps of the plan will be continuously optimized according to the specific situation, the robot explained. Alright, I understand. Dongfang Chen nodded. This is the same logic as the Nata people. The artificial intelligence of the space station will help you formulate the implementation plan with the highest probability of success, but this plan is also constantly being optimized and is not immutable. When the Nata people were studying the space station, how could they have known what would happen later? Obviously, they didn't know. Therefore, their plan must be open and highly fault-tolerant. If the design were rigid, it would have failed long ago. The plan of Dragon Country is the same. Then let's begin, the robot said. Dongfang Chen wouldn't say that he was definitely not a moaner. Why? Because the moaner themselves may not even know that they are moaner, so saying such nonsense is useless. How do we do it? Dongfang Chen asked. I need to collect a blood sample for analysis. This will determine whether there are any additional DNA fragments in your DNA, the robot explained. How long will it take? Dongfang Chen asked. 10 minutes, okay, soon. Another robot flew over. It extended a tentacle and touched Dongfang Chen's left and right arms, then turned and left. What happens after the analysis? Dongfang Chen asked. 2 situations. If there is a backdoor program in your DNA, we need to repair it. If not, we can proceed directly to the next step, the robot explained. How do you repair it? Dongfang Chen asked. DNA repair chamber, the robot replied. How long will it take? Dongfang Chen asked. 14 years, the robot replied. 14 years? Are you kidding me? Dongfang Chen said dejectedly. This is the necessary time. There is a cycle of human cell metabolism, and it takes 6 to 7 years to complete a full update. We must complete at least 2 cycles of metabolic observation. The repair work is only considered complete when no new cells carrying the DNA backdoor program appear in the body, the robot explained. If I'm not mistaken, I can't leave here during this period, right? Dongfang Chen asked. This is easy to understand. The robot dares to tell you so many things, based on what? Of course, not on blind trust, but on absolute control. Now Dongfang Chen has completely lost contact with the outside world, and even the moaner cannot transmit the message. But once you are allowed to leave, the situation will be completely different. This base may be exposed, and the plan of Dragon Country may also be exposed. Can those remnants of Sirius sit idly by? They will definitely try every means to wipe this place out. The robot will not take this risk. Yes, the robot affirmed. It seems I have no choice. Dongfang Chen smiled wryly. It's always like this. The more you know, the faster you die. Now he only has 2 options, either cooperate, or die. The robot will not let you leave directly. Yes, the robot replied. Why don't you choose to directly eliminate those remnants? Dongfang Chen asked. The risk is too great, and the success rate is less than 1%. The remnants on the moon may not be all the remnants, the robot explained. Chapter 542. As expected. 14 years is too long. There are many things outside waiting for me to do. Dongfang Chen voiced his concerns. You can handle them just the same here. Are you saying I can contact the outside world? Dongfang Chen was somewhat surprised. That's right, but it needs to be through a communication system, and you need to wait until the first gene repair is completed, the robot replied. How long will that take? 3 days. 3 days? Dongfang Chen thought he misheard. This little guy just said 2 repairs would take 14 years, but 1 repair only takes 3 days. That's right. In fact, 3 days is enough for the repair process, but after the repair, the human body's cells are still constantly metabolizing. A complete metabolism takes 6 to 7 years, and this time requires continuous observation. However, you cannot leave here during the observation period, the robot explained. Dongfang Chen understood. It was worried that the repaired cells would be replaced by cells with additional DNA fragments, but it was too early to talk about this now. Everything had to wait until the test results came out. The test results are out, the robot said. How is it? I regret to say that additional fragments were detected in your DNA. Well, as expected, Dongfang Chen was not surprised. If the survivors of Sirius had been monitoring Blue Star for hundreds of millions of years, probably almost everyone's DNA had been contaminated. Then shall we begin? The robot suggested. My subordinates are still here. Can you let them leave? Dongfang Chen asked. No. I have activity areas here, they will be fine. The robot directly refused. This was also easy to understand. The robot couldn't take even the slightest risk, although the people outside didn't know what happened. This was the Dragon Kingdom's last available base, and it must not be exposed. Alright, then I need to take care of things to avoid causing panic. Dongfang Chen didn't stand on ceremony. You may. The robot agreed. Everyone who came here, without exception, had lost contact with the outside world, so he could do whatever he wanted, as long as he didn't leave here. There was no problem. Soon, with a flash of white light, Dongfang Chen returned to the battleship. Commander, are you alright? Dai Zhang asked nervously. I'm fine. But you may need to stay here for a while. Stay for a while? Are we being detained? Dai Zhang didn't understand. Not really. There are some things here I need to figure out. It may take some time. Dongfang Chen didn't explain in detail. Is that so? Then no problem. We'll wait for you here. Dai Zhang didn't hesitate. Later I will arrange for you to go to the activity area, but you need to be mentally prepared. The waiting time is relatively long. How long will it take? About 14 years, Dongfang Chen said. 14 years? Dai Zhang was stunned. Is that what you call a while? Dai Zhang calculated. By the time it was over, he would be almost 60. At that time, not to mention fighting, even carrying a gun would be difficult. Brother Dai, I know this time is very long. But this is a matter of great importance. There is no other way. I'm making you suffer. Dongfang Chen patted him on the shoulder. Commander, what are you saying? As long as you give the order, I will not hesitate. Dai Zhang patted his chest. Good. When you get to the activity area later, gather everyone. I'll hold a meeting. Dongfang Chen instructed. Yes. 20 minutes later, the robot transferred all 5 battleships brought by Dongfang Chen to the deck of the flying saucer. The battleships opened, and everyone filed out. The special forces on the other 4 battleships were still completely, and didn't know what was happening. Line up. Dai Zhang shouted. This quickly gathered after hearing the order. Report to the commander. 26 special forces should be present. 26 are actually present, and the gathering is complete. Please instruct. Dai Zhang shouted. At ease, in this enclosed underground space, the unified steps brought. Comrades, I believe everyone still doesn't know what happened. Now I will explain in detail. Dongfang Chen said loudly. The flying saucer under your feet is an ancient reconnaissance ship. Dongfang Chen pointed to the deck. Its manufacturer is precisely our whole country's ancestors. Dongfang Chen dropped a bomb. The content he announced in public wasn't, and many secrets would not be made public. The purpose was only to appease everyone and eliminate concerns. After all, they had to stay here for many years and couldn't leave. Without a clear explanation, it would be difficult to unify their thoughts. The special forces were already well-trained veterans, and did not look around or whisper to each other. But everyone's heart was extremely shocked. Chapter 543, All Pawns on the Board. Do you know how long it's been here? Dongfang Chen paused, looking around. 500,000 years. Then why doesn't it leave? Because it has been carefully guarding a secret, a major secret related to the rise and fall of the entire human race, and its mission is to continue human civilization. The reason it doesn't leave is because there are still invisible enemies outside, insidious enemies. I might as well tell you all that the zombie virus that has been raging since last year was premeditated by this invisible enemy. Their goal is to completely destroy human civilization. The red-clothed sect that wreaked havoc in China, and the Mountie sect behind it, are puppets secretly controlled by this invisible enemy. These are the visible ones, and there are even more that are invisible. It's no exaggeration to say that every one of us here is a potential controlled individual. Of course, that includes myself. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suspecting anyone. It's just that the enemy's methods are too clever, making it impossible for us to defend against them. This base is related to the common destiny of mankind. Once the news is leaked, we will have no chance to recover. That's why I cut off all communication signals to completely eliminate the risk. From now on, until the conditions are right, no one is allowed to leave. Do you all understand? Dongfang Chen asked loudly. Understood, the special forces shouted in unison. Alright, now it's free question time. Ask whatever questions you have. Dongfang Chen gestured for everyone to ask questions. Report, speak. Commander, how long will we be here? A special forces asked. Conservatively estimated, 14 years. Everyone was taken aback. Report, speak. Commander, can we contact the outside world? It will probably take 3 to 5 days. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It was good to be able to contact the outside world. At least they wouldn't disappear from the face of the earth. As for whether living supplies could be guaranteed, no one asked. Everyone believed that Dongfang Chen would help them handle it properly soon. 5 days passed except for Dongfang Chen. All the special forces who came with him were tested without exception. All carried the attached DNA fragment. This made Dongfang Chen break out in a cold sweat. Originally, he thought that the people of the Maoni sect were difficult to deal with, mainly because they were too deeply hidden, and they had the support of motto. And he had too little information. Now he understood that everyone was a chess piece on the board. Perhaps a little later, all of them would be wiped off the board by those survivors under the arrangement of the robots. Everyone underwent repairs in the gene repair pods. Fortunately, there were enough devices, and everyone could start together, saving a lot of time. Otherwise, 3 days per person would take at least 2 months to complete. After the repair was completed, the next step was a 7-year observation period. During these 7 years, a re-examination was required every month to observe the development of body cells at any time. Can we restore communication now? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes. But your communication system needs to be modified. Okay, how about this? I have a suggestion. You might want to consider it. Speak, the robot said. I suggest setting up a relay station in the Lopner area to prevent the base's location from being exposed. Dongfang Chen said. That's a good idea. But the spacecraft is badly damaged, and it may be difficult to complete this task. You can leave it to me, Dongfang Chen said. What are you going to do? Do you have a way to communicate directly with my space station? Yes, but I need your authorization. Of course, Dongfang Chen nodded, and then, the robot asked, after authorization, I can contact the base through the space station. In that case, someone will naturally help me complete this task. Okay, the robot agreed. Soon, Dongfang Chen's main ship completed the modification under the monitoring of the robot. Dongfang Chen contacted the space station through the main ship. Commander, are you alright? Xiaolin asked. I'm fine. Time is limited. I'll talk about other things later. I'll arrange some things first. Okay, Commander. After switching the screen, Dongfang Chen immediately contacted Niu Xingwang. Now Niu Xingwang is in Bato City, Mr. Dongfang. I finally got in touch with you. Where have you been these past few days? Why was the communication interrupted? As soon as the call was connected, Niu Xingwang excitedly threw out a bunch of questions. Brother Niu, I have other things to do during this period. Now you immediately send a warship to Lopner. I will send you the location information. Bring enough crystal cores and a detector when you come over, Dongfang Chen arranged. Chapter 544, More Urgent Than You. Okay, that's it for now. Once these next few days are over, we'll reconnect. Keep an eye on things at the base and just maintain stability, Dongfang Chen said simply. The robots were constantly monitoring, not allowing any sensitive words to be mentioned. Xiaolin, a warship will be heading to Lopner later. Upon arrival, it will drop the crystal cores and the queen bee. When that happens, make arrangements to build a small underground base there, mainly for communication relay. Understood, Commander. Okay, that's all, Commander. Monitoring indicates that the communication channel is being monitored. This authorization may be risky, Xiaolin reminded. Understood. Establish a firewall on this channel. If there is any danger, disconnect immediately. Understood, Commander. Currently, communication between the flying saucer and the space station is too dangerous and may be interrupted at any time, so it is not open to special operations team members. Once the Lopner communication relay station is established, they will be able to contact their loved ones at the base. Has the warship built for the Mayans been completed? Dongfang Chen asked. It has been completed. In that case, it's inconvenient for me to contact them. You send these warships to Mexico first, and equip each warship with a guiding robot. I will draft a message later, and the guiding robot will deliver it on my behalf. Understood, Commander. After explaining these matters, Dongfang Chen immediately disconnected. Although it is highly unlikely that the survivors of Sirius would discover this communication, it's definitely right to keep the risk to a minimum. Today is the last day of 2056. However, not only did China not feel the joy of the new year, but it was also deeply shrouded in a layer of dark clouds. The 5 underground bases directly under Kyoto have surrounded the parliament building for a full 6 days. Bailey Ji has not come forward or given any explanation so far. Suo Tunhua and Zhongzhenyu were closer to Kyoto and originally planned to send troops to support Kyoto, but this request was rejected by Bailey Ji. Old kin, there are dozens of warships surrounding us outside, and the impact is too bad. What are you waiting for? If this continues, there may be trouble. Bailey G paced back and forth in the office. Wait a little longer. We'll make a decision after the trial, Old Kin said, drinking tea without any panic. There are over 200 people. How long will it take to try them all? Bailey G asked anxiously. Soon. It will be over in 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days? No, Old Kin, can you hurry up? Bombarding the Parliament building is not a joke. Bailey G was about to cry. Let's see who dares. Old Kin glared and said, it's not a matter of daring or not. People are gathered here, and it's easy for riots to occur. Bailey G said, don't worry, they are more anxious than you are. Why? They didn't clean up their tracks. Old Kin, didn't you say that this period is not suitable for digging up old scores? First, unite the people and stabilize the overall situation. How come now? What are you talking about? Am I such a petty person? Old Kin was amused. Then what are you doing? Don't ask. It's not appropriate to disclose it now. Then, should we release some news first to reassure everyone? Wait a little longer, Old Kin replied. Okay, Bailey G was helpless and could only obey. Interrogation room, have you ever seen this thing? The interrogator took out a photo, which was the yin-yang fish jade pendant. I've seen it. When did you see it? It was a long time ago. I should have still been working at the Kyoto Museum at the time. Think carefully. When exactly was it? Let me think. 41 years? Oh no, 40 years. Yes, 40 years. The person being interrogated was very flustered. How much do you remember about what happened then? Tell me in detail. Okay. Let me think. It should have been in the summer of 40 years. One afternoon, I received a call from the local public security department, saying that a piece of loot was found in a smuggling case, which looked like an antique, and asked me to go over and identify it. That antique was the thing in the photo. It should be called the yin-yang fish jade pendant. The people from the secret investigation team were interrogating the people who had come into contact with a yin-yang fish jade pendant at that time, as well as the relevant staff responsible for forming the archaeological team. Old Kin clearly remembered that 13 of the 18 members of the archaeological team were killed on the spot by the Sand People. Of the remaining 5, apart from himself, the other 4 all suffered severe mental disorders. What does this mean? It means that at least 13 of the 18 members of the archaeological team were members of the Manichaean sect. This proportion is too high. Who can stand this? Were arrangements made for these people to enter the archaeological team smoothly? If the archaeological team is like this, what about other aspects? How many people in China's official ranks are hidden Manichaean members? No one can sleep peacefully without figuring out this problem. Chapter 545 is the most secure at present. Reporting, Chairman, Azure Bird Special Operations Group Leader, Xiangang, reporting to you, Xiangang, long time no see, Bailey G said. Chairman, long time no see, Xiangang said with a smile. How is it? Are you getting used to the Southeast Military Region? Chairman, it's great. Commander Zong takes good care of me. About that last matter, I apologize to you, Bailey G said after a moment of silence. Chairman, I am a soldier. A soldier's duty is to obey orders. Your words make me feel ashamed. Ha ha ha, you kid. Good. Bailey G patted him on the shoulder. Though he was smiling, his eyes were filled with exhaustion and melancholy since the last incident where Shen Wengang was discovered to have ties with the Huotuang Chamber of Commerce and the Mercenary Guild. He removed the 2 siblings from the Dark Knight Squad. Zhong's Hangai was dissatisfied with this and requested for them to be transferred to his command. Shen Wengang and Zhong's Hangai had some history. During a mission, Shen Wengang went to the Southeast Military Region to rescue Zhuo Wenchen. It was at that time that Zhong's Hangai realized how powerful awakened ones could be in combat. However, he was troubled by the lack of suitable instructors and the inability to recruit a sufficient number of awakened ones. This prevented him from realizing his desire to establish an Awakened One squad. Shen Wengang's departure from Dark Knight Squad gave him the opportunity to realize this idea. Thus, with Shen Wengang's efforts, the Azure Bird Special Operations Group was successfully established. The little guys from the Dark Knight Squad miss you very much? Go see them later, Bailey G said. Yes, Shen Wengang was very happy. He missed everyone too. Commander Zong should have introduced the situation to you. This matter is up to you. Please rest assured, Chairman, we will guarantee the completion of the mission. Shen Wengang guaranteed. Don't be careless. There's another consideration for bringing you here this time. You have a deep friendship with the former guild master of the Mercenary Guild, Tian Shang. Tell me the truth, Do you know where he is now? Bailey G asked seriously. Chairman, I really don't know. We haven't been in contact for a long time, Shen Wengang said with an awkward smile when the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce was transferred. The mercenary guild's business was also transferred along with it. The entire handover task was handled by the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, and Zhang Yuankui, the guild master of the mercenary guild, never appeared from beginning to end. Although the delegation sent by the council had doubts at the time, the entrustment agreement was there, and everyone was not in a position to say anything after all. At the time, being able to successfully take over the Chamber of Commerce and the guild was the top priority. Alright, if you have the opportunity to see him, please tell him from me. Just say that an old friend told him that there are already clues about the matter he was entrusted to investigate back then. Bailey G said cryptically. There was also a hidden meaning in this, which was that Bailey G knew Tianish's true identity, and also knew that he, like Niu Xingwang, was a subordinate of Dongfang Chen. And he was implying to him that no one was pursuing this matter anymore, so he shouldn't have any psychological burden. Okay, if I have the opportunity to see him, I will definitely convey it. Shen Wengang responded awkwardly. He wasn't a fool either, and understood the meaning in Bailey G's words, and he could also understand that Bailey G also knew that he was still hiding a part of the truth, which had already violated the basic code of conduct of a soldier. Bailey G didn't force him. After all, the current situation was very complex and severe. Various overt and covert forces were intricately intertwined, and it was better not to pull on threads that didn't need to be pulled. Well, alright. Come, let me introduce you. This is Elder Qin, and he is also the person you need to focus on protecting this time. Bailey G brought him to Elder Qin. Greetings, Chief. Shen Wengang gave a standard military salute. He didn't know what position the old man in front of him held, so he could only call him Chief. Xiangang, your arrival is just in time. Do you know why this mission was given to your Azure Bird Special Operations Group instead of the Dark Knight Squad? Elder Qin asked. Commander Zhong said that it's because the Dark Knight Squad still lacks some combat experience. Shen Wengang replied. No, think again. Elder Qin shook his head. It's not? Then I don't know. Shen Wengang scratched his head. One reason is because the members of the Dark Knight Squad were all recruited after the outbreak of the virus, and the screening process was not strict. But, I also joined the Dark Knight Squad after the outbreak of the virus, didn't I? Shen Wengang said truthfully. That's another reason, because you were recommended by the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, Elder Qin said. What does that have to do with anything? Shen Wengang didn't understand. That kid Dongfang Chen recommended you, didn't he? Elder Qin directly hit the nail on the head. Shen Wengang's brain wasn't working well enough, and he didn't know how to answer. Haha, you don't need to feel embarrassed. I know that kid, although he's cunning, his people are currently the most reliable. Elder Qin said. What does most reliable mean? Shen Wengang didn't fully understand this sentence either. Chapter 546. Come back after learning. I've called you here today because there's something I need you to do, Old Qin said. Please give your instructions, Chief. I know you have connections with Niu Xingwang, the former chairman of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce. I need you to contact him and secretly acquire a batch of equipment, Old Qin said. Shen Wengang didn't know how to respond. He didn't know if this was a test. You don't need to worry. The matter behind this is very complicated, and it's not convenient to discuss at the moment. Old Qin added this matter was far-reaching, and Shen Wengang was not authorized to make decisions alone, so he contacted Dongfang Chen through his digital eye. Unfortunately, Dongfang Chen was currently unreachable. Anxious, he could only contact Niu Xingwang. Xiangang, what is it? Niu Xingwang was also in a state of turmoil and in no mood for pleasantries. I may be exposed. The speaker knows my identity, Shen Wengang said. Find an opportunity to evacuate. Niu Xingwang replied. I can't evacuate now. I'm in the speaker's office. They want me to contact you to secretly procure a batch of equipment. I can't judge whether there might be other motives behind this matter, Shen Wengang said truthfully. Half a minute passed, and Niu Xingwang didn't reply. Seeing that Shen Wengang wasn't speaking, Old Qin didn't urge him. Is there any guarantee of safety? Niu Xingwang asked after a moment of silence. The safety should be fine, Shen Wengang replied. He believed that Bai Liji had no intention of detaining him. Then talk. Since your identity has already been exposed, whether you admit it or not doesn't matter much. However, be careful, Niu Xingwang replied. Okay, I understand, Shen Wengang answered. Chief, I don't quite understand. Now that the management rights of the Chamber of Commerce have been nationalized, why do you need to find Chairman Niu to purchase equipment? Shen Wengang asked. I've said it before, this matter needs to be carried out in secret. The fewer people who know, the better, Old Kin replied. All right then, what equipment do you need? I'll try to contact him, Shen Wengang relented. It's not what I need, it's what you need, Old Kin said. Shen Wengang was confused. You guys go to the Xiaolin neutral zone and arm the entire Bluebird squad to the teeth. Especially the operation methods of the Mitches, learn them before you come back. Tell Niu Xingwang that all expenses will be paid by the parliament, Old Kin said. Yes, Shen Wengang breathed a sigh of relief. Well, be careful to keep the operation secret. The Chamber of Commerce's transport plane will be heading to the Xiaolin neutral zone in a while. You guys quietly sneak in. What I want to emphasize is that this is not an official dispatch, nor are there any passes. Once you leave this door, we will not acknowledge the existence of this dispatch mission. Do you understand what I mean? Old Kin instructed. Understood, Shen Wengang nodded. This meant that once they were exposed, no one would support them if they were caught. It would be the crime of treason, of course. If the Bluebird squad could be easily caught, then they wouldn't be suitable to continue with subsequent missions obviously. Through the Sandman incident some time ago, Dongfang Chen had already given Old Kin a very clear hint. Since the Sandmen only attacked members of the Mani Church, and Old Kin's archaeological team suffered heavy losses more than a decade ago. Combining these two things, it's easy to come to the conclusion, the high-level officials of China have been infiltrated by the Mani Church, and the proportion of infiltration is quite high. Such a high proportion means that among the people around him, there is a high probability that there are Mani Church members. As for who is and who isn't, how can that be clearly investigated? Don't forget, the archaeological team's incident happened more than a decade ago, which means that the Mani Church's infiltration has not been a matter of just 1 or 2 days. It's like sugar and arsenic have been put together and fully mixed in water. To completely separate the two is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Relying on conventional methods is simply impossible to achieve. Moreover, Dongfang Chen hadn't told him that there were backdoor programs in human DNA now, and everyone was a potential Mani Church member. This was simply a dead knot. It seemed that the only way was to completely eliminate those serious survivors, but this was also almost impossible to achieve. The robot had said that he had accidentally discovered the survivors on the moon. As for whether there were any in other places, who knew? Therefore, if there was no way to completely erase the other party, then rashly taking action would most likely end in failure. So, without any certainty, no one dared to easily touch this cup of water. Although Old Kin didn't know these details, he was facing a similar situation. The reason why Dongfang Chen's people were the most reliable was precisely because of this consideration. The infiltration rate in the official team was too high. Wanting to rely on them to dig out cult members was probably wishful thinking. Apart from exposing the plan and even startling the snake, there would be no other result. Although there might also be hidden cult members among Dongfang Chen's people, Dongfang Chen had a complete monitoring system. The behavior of everyone was exposed to the sunlight, so it was relatively much safer. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547. We Want to Eat. After Shen Wengang left, he did not go to the Dark Knight squad. Time was limited, so he hurried to lead the Azure Bird squad to the headquarters of Huituang Chamber of Commerce in Binjiang. Although Niu Xingwang handed over the management rights of the Chamber of Commerce, the supreme control of the base was not actually transferred. Shen Wengang and his party could secretly enter the underground base through the safe houses scattered throughout the Binjiang area. Except for the people inside the base, it was almost impossible for others to complete this task. This was also the wisdom of Old Kin in entrusting this task to them. 6 hours later, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce's transport ship successfully arrived at the underground base in Bado City. Under Niu Xingwang's arrangement, the squad members successfully left the material transfer area and entered the interior of the base. Brother Niu, long time no see. Shen Wengang came to the office and shook hands with Niu Xingwang affectionately. Although they had not spent a long time together, they were brothers in the same trench, and naturally felt close to each other. Long time no see. Lu'er has also grown into a graceful young woman. Niu Xingwang looked at Lu'er, who was standing aside. Brother Niu still has a good eye, Lu'er said with a smile. Ha ha ha, you have a sweet mouth, no wonder everyone likes you, Niu Xingwang said with a hearty laugh. Brother Niu, why don't I see Brother Dongfang? Lu'er looked around, but did not see Dongfang Chen's figure. He left for some business and may not be back for a while. Niu Xingwang replied, "Is there any danger? I noticed that his account has been offline for a long time, and there has been no news." Lu'er looked a little worried. "Don't worry, he's fine. We just talked a while ago," Niu Xingwang comforted. "Okay then." Lu'er nodded. "Xiangang, this morning you said your identity was exposed, and the council asked you to come forward to purchase a batch of equipment. What's going on?" Niu Xingwang got down to business. "To be honest, I'm also confused. There is a person named Old Qin in the office, who seems to have a high status. I was transferred to Kyoto, and the main task was to protect him. This time he sent me here, hoping to equip the Azure Bird Squad with a full set of the latest equipment and learn how to operate the mecha." Shen Wengang replied. Niu Xingwang couldn't make heads or tails of it either. Ultimately, they had too little information. "By the way, the situation in Kyoto is very complicated now. The 5 bases directly under Kyoto have sent dozens of warships to surround the parliament building. I don't know if there is any relationship between these two things," Shen Wengang added. "I know about this situation. In my opinion, this matter is full of weirdness. They surround but do not attack, and the council does not respond in any way. The two sides are in a stalemate there, for several days in a row. According to the council's consistent style, this kind of behavior would definitely be dealt with seriously and would never be tolerated. But now they are completely ignoring it, which is really unbelievable. As for whether sending you here has anything to do with this matter, it's hard to say," Niu Xingwang replied. Old Qin also said some inexplicable things. He said that the situation is severe and complicated now, and only our people can be considered reliable. "What does that mean?" Shen Wengang asked. "It seems that something big is indeed going to happen domestically," Niu Xingwang sighed. "Is the domestic communication system still under our monitoring? Are there any valuable discoveries in it?" Shen Wengang asked. "On the surface, everything is normal." Niu Xingwang shook his head. Shen Wengang nodded and said nothing more. "By the way, after all, the people you brought are not members of the base, so I will take certain control measures, that's for sure. I have no objection." "Well, that's good. I have arranged an extra rest area for you. If you feel uncomfortable staying with them, you can also live there." The living area that Niu Xingwang prepared for them was relatively independent from the base's living area, and stricter control measures were implemented, including restricting activity areas, restricting network permissions, and monitoring communications. Although this method may make people feel uncomfortable, it is generally acceptable after all. For a large base with millions of people, allowing outsiders to move freely is too dangerous. That's not necessary. Just follow the rules and regulations, Shen Wengang replied. "Okay then. The equipment matter will have to wait, but the mecha training can start at any time." "Okay." Shen Wengang had no objection. This was official business, and what kind of equipment could be provided to this special forces team still needed to be decided by Dongfang Chen. But now that Dongfang Chen could not be contacted, they could only wait. In the underground base of the Kunlun Mountains, what do you think about building an underground passage between our transfer stations in the Kunlun Mountains and Lopner? Dongfang Chen asked. "What's the purpose?" the robot asked. "You don't eat, but we have to," Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Now they were eating the food they brought, which would last for a month or so. But any longer would be impossible. Chapter 548 Delivery. "If you don't eat, we need to," Dongfang Chen said with a smile. "I can provide you with enough energy supply here," the robot said. "Let's save those nutrient solutions for emergencies in the future." Who could stand being injected with nutrient solution every day for more than 10 years? It's okay, the nutrient solution can be recycled. As long as the spaceship's energy isn't exhausted, it will never run out. The robot seemingly didn't understand Dongfang Chen's meaning. "Oh, right. Is there any problem with the security of setting up such an underground passage?" Dongfang Chen stopped pursuing that topic with him. "There are absolutely no problems." "That's good. Let's do it that way." "Alright, but you'll have to figure out how to build the passage yourself." "That's natural." On January 3, 2057 AD, the 10 warships commissioned by the Mayans successfully arrived in Mexico because they hadn't been notified in advance. The Mayans initially thought enemies were coming. However, they relaxed after seeing the style of the warships. "High Priest, shouldn't these be the warships that the Woolen Neutral Zone produced for us?" a spirit servant asked. "It should be. Let's go take a look." The High Priest nodded in confusion. He hadn't expected Dongfang Chen to send the warships over without any prior notice. The warships landed on an open space, and the entrance opened. A robot walked out. "Greetings, Your Excellency High Priest. I am the intelligent assistant of this warship. The 10 warships you ordered have arrived, please inspect them. After the robot finished speaking, it bowed politely. Didn't Mr. Dongfang come? The high priest asked. Mr. Dongfang has other tasks and cannot be present at the moment, the robot assistant replied. Even if he had the time, it was impossible for Dongfang Chen to come in person. It was just delivering goods, there was no need to go himself. Then take me inside to take a look. The high priest didn't say much else, although he felt that Dongfang Chen was a bit impolite and didn't pay enough attention to them. It was within acceptable limits. Okay, please follow me. The robot assistant made a gesture to invite him. As soon as he boarded the warship, a very familiar feeling came over him. The layout and decorations inside were all made according to the style of Mayan warships, and the high priest was very satisfied. The trace of dissatisfaction with Dongfang Chen was completely dispelled soon. The high priest and several attendants arrived at the command hall. Mr. High Priest, Mr. Dongfang is very sorry that he cannot come in person. He has prepared a message for you. Would you like to view it now? The robot assistant asked. View it, okay. As soon as the robot finished speaking, the large screen in the command hall lit up. The screen displayed Dongfang Chen's avatar. Mr. High Priest, I am very sorry to meet you in this way. First of all, I want to clarify that I, and the Wulin Neutral Zone, have no intention of offending you or the Mayan civilization you belong to. There is a reason for delivering goods in this way. The high priest listened quietly. Due to certain matters you mentioned to me last time, I am currently conducting an in-depth investigation. I won't mention the specific content, but I think you understand its meaning and significance. Regarding this batch of warships, the only thing to explain is, because your power system is not compatible with my energy shield technology, I have replaced it with a new power system. In other respects, I have tried to follow your original design and habits as much as possible. The robot assistant beside you is specially prepared for you. I believe that with its help, mastering the usage method will not be a problem. By the way, are you satisfied with the helper prepared for you? I think it's possible to prepare in advance to a certain extent. Here is a piece of information to share with you. I hope it will be helpful to you. The Prime Minister of the Great Sun Nation has received an order from Nata, requiring them to transfer warships to the West Asia region for security assistance. Okay, I can only say so much. You can consider how to deal with it next. I wish us a happy cooperation. The video ended. The high priest felt a warmth in his heart after listening to Dongfang Chen's message. The Mayans were finally no longer fighting alone like they had thousands of years ago. It felt good to have allies. Mr. High Priest, if you have any questions about usage, you can consult me at any time, the robot assistant added after finishing the broadcast. Where exactly did your Mr. Dongfang go? Sorry, Mr. High Priest, I do not know. Apart from the operation and use of the warship, I cannot provide you with other assistance. Alright, the high priest nodded and turned to leave. If, as Dongfang Chen said, the Prime Minister of the Great Sun Nation had received an order from Nata, then the warships of the Great Sun Nation could completely take the initiative to go to West Asia. Originally, his plan was to take control of the Great Sun Nation's warships about half a month before the start of the Mani religion's sacrificial ceremony and forcibly attack Nata, but now there was no need. This saved him a lot of trouble. Chapter 549, Zhangzhonghao's turn. Currently, the Yamato's warships are clearing zombies in South America. It's summer here, and due to the global temperature being lower than usual, the highest daytime temperature is only a little over 30 degrees Celsius. The temperature is quite comfortable. However, the process of clearing zombies is not so comfortable. The north-central region of South America is lush with vegetation and has a diverse range of species. It has now become a paradise for mutated creatures. Even zombies can't survive here, let alone humans. For the past few days, Vice Admiral Nakatomi has led the fleet on a large circle, but with little to show for it. Commander Kamada, what brings you here? It's too dangerous here, please return as soon as possible, Nakatomi earnestly requested. That's right. Kamada Sayako had arrived after discovering that he couldn't contact Azuma Chen. He began to let loose. It doesn't matter. Our Yamato homeland has already been completely frozen over. Staying there is completely meaningless. Kamada Sayako waved his hand. But this place is too close to the United Americas. I'm worried they might find out and be unfavorable to you. If something were to happen to you, I'm afraid the Yamato would face a major problem, Nakatomi said with concern. What? With so many warships, are you still afraid of resisting an attack from the United Americas? Ordinary attacks are naturally not a problem. But, that's enough. Unless absolutely necessary, they won't use nuclear weapons. You mean, We're not going to the United Americas anymore. Nakatomi discerned a hidden meaning. That's right. Let's suspend the zombie clearing plan. The United Americas are not worth the tremendous effort we're putting in. Kamada Sayako nodded. Indeed, it's time to stop. Through the investigations of the past few days, I believe the United Americas does not have the conditions to migrate here. Even if the zombies completely disappear, they won't be able to cope with a massive number of mutated creatures. Nakatomi nodded. Contact Maxon immediately and tell him the situation here. Hi. Upon receiving the message, Maxon was extremely anxious. He couldn't stop Nakatomi from changing his decision because he didn't have any bargaining chips. Moreover, if they were to migrate, they would have to rely on the Yamato. This is because the Mayans have completely sealed off the border. Any warplanes that fly out will be immediately attacked as for using nuclear strikes against Mexico. Forget it. As long as the Mayans aren't instantly annihilated, the United Americas will suffer. This is a hornet's nest that must not be disturbed. Now that the Yamato's warships no longer plan to return to North America, Nakatomi has the right to refuse, no matter how much Maxon wants to fight for it. Commander Kamada, what do we do next? Nakatomi asked. Set off immediately from Midota. Go to Midota? Commander Kamada, I disagree. Nakatomi directly refused. Do you think I'm discussing this with you? You can't act arbitrarily. I demand an emergency cabinet meeting. Vice Admiral Nakatomi, don't forget that our communication system is under the surveillance of the neutral zone of Ulan. Are you sure you have the conditions to hold an online meeting? Kamada Sayako reminded. So what? Now it seems that being under such surveillance may not be a bad thing. Nakatomi coldly snorted. Why did Nakatomi suddenly turn hostile? It was because he was very clear about the consequences of the warships going to Midota. This was to hand over the Yamato's assets to others. Kamada Sayako was a member of the Crimson Robe sect, but he was not. He also knew that Kamada Sayako's previous announcement of withdrawing from the Crimson Robe sect was just an expedient measure. Just talk without the support of the Crimson Robe sect. He was nothing. Vice Admiral Nakatomi, I always thought you were the most supportive person in the cabinet. That is based on the interests of the Yamato. All right. Since that's the case, then I'll have to offend you. Take a look at this. Kamada Sayako took out a small tablet from his body. Nakatomi took the tablet and flipped through it. I don't want to do this either. But things have reached this point, and a decision must be made. Kamada Sayako spread his hands. Even if you kill them, I will never agree. Nakatomi seemed to have made a major decision in reality. Kamada Sayako couldn't kill him now, because there was no one else to use if he killed him. He also knew that Nakatomi was not someone who could be easily subdued, so he had controlled his family in advance. Why bother? Even if you disagree, it won't change anything. Moreover, this trip to Midota is just to carry out a mission and will not harm the interests of the Yamato. Your stubbornness only adds difficulty to our mission and serves no other purpose. Kamada Sayako reasoned. Just to carry out a mission? You're not lying to me? Nakatomi asked, as if confirming. Yes, absolutely not lying to you. In that case, was it necessary for you to come here in person? Nakatomi was still a little skeptical. You misunderstood. I came here not to persuade you, but to plan to go to Midota myself, Kamada Sayako explained. Chapter 550, Monka and Shenin. Alright, Nakihiro Oshige finally compromised January 4, 2057, after the 20 warships of the Great Sun Nation completed their assembly. They sailed through the Caribbean Sea towards the Atlantic Ocean. Motto is located between Europe and Asia, bordered by the Ross country to the north, the Austro-Hungarian Empire to the west, the Hul country to the east, the Agila Democratic Republic to the southwest, and the India-Pakistan country to the southeast. To arrive safely, the safest route is by sea, and the only sea route is through the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean Sea. What is uncertain now is whether the Strait of Gibraltar is controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. If it is controlled, then they can only force their way through from the Caribbean Sea to the Strait of Gibraltar. The straight line sailing distance is about 6,200 kilometers. At full speed, they should arrive within 8 hours. The Mayans quickly learned about the departure of the Great Sun Nation's warships. The High Priest was very happy to hear this news. This shows that the information Dongfang Chen provided him was true. Since there is no need for the material inspectors lurking on the warships to take action, it saves trouble. Pushin Zioeasy naturally dare not attack them, and must provide them with good food and drink. Fortunately, these inspectors seem to be not diligent, hiding in their rooms and sleeping all day. and not going on patrol. This makes Pushin Xiaozi feel a lot more at ease. The Lopner communication relay station has now been built. The connection between Dongfang Chen and the space station is cut off, and he cannot receive messages. But the robot can detect it, so Dongfang Chen can still receive the news of the completion in the first time. Do you have a name? Yes, I'm called Xiaolin, the bragging robot replied. Xiaolin? Did you give yourself that name? Dongfang Chen asked. The word Xiaolin is a term from Hu country mythology and should not appear on the ancient dragon country's spaceship. This is the translated name. My original code name itself has the meaning of exploration and cultivation, so I translated it into Xiaolin. Then that's the code name of the spaceship, not your name. I also have a name, but I haven't used it for a long time. Oh? Really? What is it called? I still won't say it. What? Can a robot be shy? Dongfang Chen mocked. What about robots? Can't robots be shy? The robot asked confidently. Yes. Of course, they can. If it's inconvenient for you to say, I'll give you a new one. Dongfang Chen didn't argue with him. This robot is different from Xiaolin. Xiaolin doesn't understand the potential meaning and language, doesn't joke, and has no emotions, but this guy does. No need, I'll tell you. My name is Menka, the robot said, but it didn't seem too happy. Menka, that's a nice name. Why do you look unhappy? Dongfang Chen asked. No one has called this name for a long time. The robot sighed. Dongfang Chen understood that he was thinking of someone from the past. From the time he was created until now, it has been 1 billion years. No matter who it is, he can only think about it. I can't tell, you still have a sentimental side. Dongfang Chen didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only pull him out of this emotion. Okay, let's not talk about it. I just took a look, and the little guy you dropped in Lopner has been completed. The robot quickly recovered. Really? That's great. I reserved a cable in the underground passage, and you can use it to establish a connection with the relay station. Dongfang Chen said. Okay, establishing communication. The robot was very efficient. Connection successful. The relay station can now be used. The robot continued after less than 5 seconds. Great. Finally liberated. Dongfang Chen immediately cheered up. His digital eye pupils can be activated now. He can contact the outside world through the relay station. Even if someone tracks the signal, it won't matter. Xiaolin, has anything happened outside these days? Dongfang Chen asked. Commander, the warships of the Great Sun Nation left South America today. Xiaolin reported. Really? They should be planning to go to model, right? Dongfang Chen was not surprised at all. Based on the route, it is very likely. Xiaolin replied. Well, don't worry about them. Anything else? Tiangang led a team of 30 people to the underground base in Bado City, and they are now training in mecha operation. Tiangang? Why did he suddenly go to Bado City? He deliberately bypassed the communication system of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, and the specific reason is not clear. Dongfang Chen pondered for a moment, feeling that something was up, so he called Shen Wengang directly. Commander, Shen Wengang was very happy to see that it was Dongfang Chen calling. Tiangang, what's the situation? Why did you go to Bado City quietly? Dongfang Chen asked. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.